Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator and welcome to the Cowan Sim Bell 206 Jet Ranger. In this case the L3 variant, one of three I believe, maybe even four offerings from this developer, and we're going to go ahead and give it our usual treatment here on the channel. We're going to go ahead and start with textures. From there, we're going to move on to the interior, cockpits, sounds, that sort of thing, and then we will go into a flight and get some flight impressions as well. Without further ado, let's begin. Okay, taking a closer look at the 206, the first thing I want to get out of the way here is this helicopter, for whatever reason, adds these judders. You can see them as I move around the aircraft, so we're just going to have to deal with it. It is the aircraft doing it, it's not my sim natively. But this is a bug that I've encountered with this rotorcraft and other offerings from Cowan Sim. I can't speak to if you'll have this issue, but this is something that I'm running into. And it looks like it's actually not. I'm looking at the recording. It's not quite as pronounced in the recording, but it's pretty damn pronounced in the sim. But nonetheless, that's not going to stop us from looking around the helicopter. You can see I've got the doors open. I've added a Cineflex camera, as well as a light pod underneath. So let's actually go through that first before we full on jump into textures. All the different options you can add to the helicopter. Obviously you've got options for the pilot and the co-pilot. Left and rear passengers, I've got one person already on board. If you want to make this into a medical unit, you can. So you would add 400 for that. And then we'll delete those other passengers. Baggage doesn't seem to add anything. The searchlight, obviously that's the guy on the rear we were just looking at. There's an optional spray kit that we can add. So you can really outfit this helicopter with quite a bit of kit. So whatever you might end up wanting to do with this helicopter in the simulated world, as far as I know, the spray kit doesn't work, and I have issues slewing that searchlight around as well as the camera actually. But there's quite a bit of extra stuff you can do. There's so many liveries available for this helicopter, including medevac ones, so you can add have a medevac style livery on board as well. But let's go ahead and clean some of this stuff up here. I do not want the spray kit anymore. We will leave the searchlight. We'll leave the camera, we'll leave the floats, wire cutters is fine, front doors, rear doors are fine. I don't know why my spray kit's not going away. Spray kit 400, 0 please. There you go. So we're now a little bit more cleaned up back into our semi-luxurious style. You don't have the option to add forward passengers, and so I tried, just your basic stuff, like if you double the weight, let's say, of one of your passengers, you don't add a person, you could triple the weight, and it doesn't add an additional person. So that's kind of a downside. You do have the extra seats, you just can't do anything with them. So that's unfortunate, but we'll make do. Let's reconfigure here really quick. There we go. So, textures. Textures. All in all, their textures are good. I mean, there's not really anything that's super sticking out as a sore thumb. That the Cineflex camera looks really good with the carbon fiber style design. I mean, it's not perfect. You can see the really good detail on the hardware there in relation to the rest of the camera. The lens itself looks pretty good. Got big aperture lens there behind the landing light. Landing light looks okay. It looks like it's a 2D texture stretched over a 3D model on the backside. Let's continue on our ground level look here. See good detail on the wire cutter there. One of our Doppler ports, you can see the added wiring for the camera. Relatively good detail on the riveting on the underside of the aircraft. A little bit of lack of detail for the seams on the different panels where they are riveted together. Skids look good. Floats look good. Continuing down the empennage, we'll take a look at this searchlight here. Oops. Let me slow down my rates. Is that slower? Not really, but we'll make do. So you can see you actually have a proper data tag here on the searchlight. Cowan Labs Searchlight Assembly. Very cool. FAA PMA eligible for installation. Alright. I actually don't have a lot of knowledge on these searchlights, so I can't speak to if you would have a plain white lens like that on the front or not, or if you would actually be able to see through. The ones that I remember seeing, you could actually see into the lens and you could see the reflector in the back and the beam emitter light, but I'm not going to take off points for that just because I'm not certain about what specifically they're modeling. Moving aft. Oh, we are in the horizontal stabilizer. We'll slow this down a little more. Slow. No, you're going faster. Why are you going faster? There, that's better. For the... Now we're too slow. For your tail rotor assembly, that's all looking very good. No real breakdown of detail there whatsoever. Get up real close. Let's take a look at this data tag. So even the data tags are relatively nicely modeled on both sides, I would imagine. Yeah. You do have full static working animation with the tail rudder. So as you actuate your anti-torque pedals, the tail rudder torsion. Same thing with your cyclic, or your collective rather. I think you have to have hydropower for the cyclic to work. I'm rotating it now and it doesn't seem to be doing anything. So, well, that looks pretty good. The tail rotor, decent-ish LED model. Again, it just appears to be a 2D texture overlaid on a 3D model. I like the Phillips head screws on the tail light there. Let's go up top to the rotating beacon. Not a perfectly clear beacon. I think you would get a little bit more transparency through that than what is modeled, but that's okay. Moving forward to our horizontal stabilizer now. Man, if you think these jitters are bad while we're on the ground here, just wait till we start flying. It's borderline unbearable. What's going on here, Mr. Nav Strobe Light? So on this side, I don't know really what's going on, but if we go over to the other side, it's a little better. So you can see there is an intended model there. You can see the red nav light on the front and then the strobe on the center. Again, more of that 2D texture appearing to be stretched over that 3D model. Some weird design there with the countersunk options there, especially when you compare it to the good detail of those AN 470 AD rivets. Good detail on the flathead screws going down the empennage. We'll come back to the cockpit momentarily. All in all, I do think this is a very nicely modeled rotorcraft. Onto our main rotor head and swash plate. Like I demoed before, moving your collective does actually physically move the rotor. Although if you look, where's my mouse? If you look, can you see my mouse? Yeah, you can. If you look right here, you can see this bolt does not move with the movement of the collective. So whatever, we'll let it go. It's not integral to the operation of the aircraft, and you're not going to notice it once the rotor head's spinning. Again, excuse me, nicely modeled data tag. Obviously, the information's missing on it, but the modeling of the data tag is good. Curious, do we get that same... Interesting. So on this side, it appears to be modeled. So it's, I don't know, something's going on with the right side of the helo. Which is funny, because that's primarily where you would fly from in this helicopter, is the right seat. There you've got a nicely modeled data tag. Looking down below into the rotor assembly, looks like just a black void where the rest of the rotor goes into. Not a whole lot of detail in here. Popping out really good detail actually on the engine, it would appear. Okay, moderate detail. So I mean, you can see on the intake side, I think the actual intake for the engine would be somewheres around here. And then you can see the detail going aft as you pass the exhaust port. Obviously no patented sample test today. And that nicely blued exhaust. We are looking into another black void. Like the bluing on the exhaust, I'm assuming it's a, I don't know, is that stainless or is that titanium? That's titanium, I think, that blues like that under heat. Sim's frozen? Sim's completely frozen. There we go. Welcome back, Flight Sim. Anyway, I think I think that's a good enough stopping point for the exterior textures. We will hop inside and take a look at what's going on in there. Alright, now inside of the cockpit of the 206. All in all, textures are looking pretty dang good. There's not really anywhere where it super falls apart. I actually really like the detail on this carpet down here. There's a weird, and maybe it's just set up with my sim, but is it? Yeah, it's kind of coming through on the video. Can you see when I zoom out, it's really apparent? Can you see the weird shadow artifacting here? Maybe that just has to do with my shadow map settings and Flight Sim, but it's got this weird gritty texture that doesn't seem to exist on other aircraft. Where is my shadow? Contact shadows are set to high. I guess I can up the shadow maps more. No, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there. So that's something that's going to need looking into by the devs, because like I said, I don't notice this on other aircraft or rotorcraft for that matter. But other than that, the cockpit is very well put together, very nicely modeled. You do have functioning circuit breakers. Well, I guess when I say functioning, when you pull them out, it turns off whatever is connected to them. Functioning rotor brake that you don't have to hold, a Sobo. So that's cool. You just pull it down and the rotor is locked in place. Obviously, we're pretty light wind today, so we're not free masting as it is. Let's go to the aft portion of the cabin. So now we're looking back as though we're one of those passengers in the rear seats. Again, nothing too spectacular to see, but everything that does exist here is nicely modeled. You've got the tail rotor warning for would-be passengers, 3 abreast seating in the rear, and then, what is this called? Coach style, or I forgot, something style seating in the forward portion. Why can I only click on these seat belts? What's going? Why can I only click on that seat belt? Cowan Sim, what's going on? Why can I click on this seat belt? Anyway, character models, your passengers, relatively high detail, especially compared to some of the stuff we've seen before. So that's always good to see. Non-animated, but we'll take what we can get. Functioning doors, as you saw before. Or if you want, you can do a full open. Like so. Excuse you. Thank you. And now we'll head back into cockpit here, and this is the part where I shut up, and I will turn up the sim and let you guys hear some of the sounds of the 206. So I'm not really super blown away. A lot of missing sounds, actually, if you really took a listen. The doors didn't make really much noise. This window here doesn't make much noise when you open and shut it. But I suppose that's okay. We'll run through a startup here and go from there. Let's get some air vents going. And this brings me to gripe number, what are we at? 3 now, I think, with the 206. We have the lagginess, or the hang-ups, as you experience the sim. The issue with the... no, we're on to 4. So, hang-ups in the sim, fact that I can't slew the camera or the searchlight, and then this guy, whatever this artifacting is on the main dash, and then lack of sounds. So we're at 5. Anyway, number 5 is the startup process for this helicopter. So I'm not, like I've said before many times, I am nowhere near familiar with the startup process for helicopters, but I know enough that if I needed to, I could probably get one started up. I have read the manual for this helicopter, and it just seems that the process doesn't seem to work. And you'll see more of what I mean, but first indication here is our TOT is already in the orange. We have no engine rotation at all. We haven't hit the starter, nothing. But our TOT is already above 700 Celsius. That will fix itself once we start. It'll spin back, you know, down to like 2 or something like that, and then slowly come back through the arc. And then when we go to start again, you're going to see the rotor RPM is going to exceed well past 100, basically peg out at 120. And on the real 206, you would introduce fuel, basically get your idle release to click off like that, and then you'd reclose the throttle, and that's your idle start. And then as you're ready to advance to flight speed, you would increase the throttle. So we'll do that. That's exactly what we're going to do, and you can see what happens on the helicopter. It's not what's supposed to happen. So, startup. We've got fuel's good. Fuel quantity should be fine. Yeah, plenty of fuel. Generators in the start position. Avionics can stay off. DG can stay off for now. We've got the anti-collision and strobe lights on. We should be good to start. Let's turn the sim back up just a little bit. Not quite matching myself. We'll take a listen. So again, we're back against that idle stop where we should be. You can see ITT has gone from 700 back to 0. Now we're spiking again. Rotor speed's coming up. NG is in the green now. So go ahead and turn on the generator. avionics. And we'll turn on our standby ADI. Interesting, so it seems to have worked this time. So we're on that idle stop, and this is right around where I would expect the rotor to stop. Basically, we're charging up the batteries, but giving the engine time to warm up. And we would do that for 1 minute. So if we start a timer here, you let the aircraft idle for a minute, which is exactly what we'll do. While we're doing that, we'll head outside and take a look at some of the external lighting that is available to us. So I'm going to shut this window. Doesn't change much for audio. You do hear the that dugga-dugga of the rotors better when this is open, but I don't think you get the noise you would get with that open versus closed, but that's just my personal take. So, coming outside now. Heading ground idle. You can see we've got that beacon on the rear, strobe lights and nav lights all running. I think they look pretty good for out-of-the-box aircraft. They're not great, but they get the job done. There's no floating orbs when you zoom out like we've seen on other aircraft. Then we get on to gripe number 6 for me, which is the landing light on the front here. So you've got 3 positions. There's off. Where's this? That's way too loud. There we go. You've got off. You have, I think it's forward and then both. And there's no toggleable option for that. So if you hit the landing light, it automatically goes to the all the way forward position. But it also turns on this searchlight. And I don't like that, because the searchlight has a separate control. So you can see there's our landing light behind the camera there. Our searchlight also comes on. You'll also notice our searchlight has gone from the 12 o'clock position to slightly over to the right. I have no means, so this is where you would control it from, right? Lamp off, start on, and these are both controlled with my landing light. So you've got, like I said before, you've got off, forward, or both. Both shines a light on the bottom, straight down as well. But I have no means of moving this landing light around. I have no idea. It just doesn't move. You know, we can go to the right, to the right, to the right, just to make sure I'm not screwing it up. Let's go up. It's still just pointing right where it wants to be. So, that's kind of a bummer. But we'll make do. It's not going to stop us from flying today. So, we're well past our 1 minute mark, so we're going to go ahead and advance the throttle to full. And unfortunately, there's not a means of doing this via a binding, which I would really, really like to see if there was a binding for this. But beggars can't be choosers, so let's go ahead and advance our throttle to flight. So you go, governor kicked in, keeping us nice and happy at 100%. Right at the threshold for turbine temperature. RPM's in the green. Torque's in the green, waving at us. So we should be good for a quick hover check. Let's give it a shot here. Oh, this is my disclaimer. I suck at flying helicopters. I've never claimed to be good at flying helicopters. So you can feel free to leave comments about how poorly I fly down below. I already know. I'm aware. Okay. Bell 206 hover check. So I'm going to go a little bit of aft cyclic and just a little bit of left anti-torque. In fact, let me see where's the wind coming from. Slightly from our left. Okay. Try and take that into consideration. All right, here we go. Adding collective. You'll see a little bit of dust cloud appear around us. That's always kind of cool to see. There's that dust cloud. Again, ignoring my inability to properly hover. And I've heard many other channels who review flight sim modules say the same thing that I'm about to say. It does feel just a little bit twitchy. Generally speaking, you are constantly making adjustments in a helicopter, but they're usually relatively fine and not quite as reactionary as what I'm experiencing in the Cowan sim. And it's like this across a few different aircraft in their lineup. We'll look at another one later on, somewhere weeks down the line. But it's manageable. You just kind of have to be ready for it. You might even have to potentially set up a custom profile for this rotorcraft to get it to fly the way that you want. So there's our wind direction there. I guess we'll just take this runway here. Oh, that's a bumper. And again, I do apologize about the jittering. There's just nothing I can seem to do. I've tried low graphics settings. I've checked my GPU drivers. They're all no factor to this. It just makes the sim jerk, which kind of sucks. But boy, does it sound good, huh? It sounds great. Alright, final check of controls, or of instruments. Everything looks to be in the green. Oil temps in the green. Oil pressures in the green. Turbine temperatures in the green. Torques in the green. And so is our TOT. Rotor speed's good. Alright, final check's good. Hover check complete. Let's go fly this bird. Get a kind of aggressive outgoing here, as aggressive as we can get in the old 206. We do only have twin blades supporting us today, so to keep that in mind for our control inputs. We're not going to go and model it today, but there is no VRS model in this either. Which, for those of you unfamiliar, stands for vortex ring state. It's essentially when you're descending into your own downwash, and it's extremely difficult to recover from, but this helicopter does not appear to model VRS. None of the Cowan sim rotorcraft appear to do so. What is going on at Boca Chica? Holy flight sim. But all in all, it's a decent helicopter to fly. You do really have to keep your eye on that ASI, your airspeed indicator, because you get up near that V&E and the helicopter becomes very unhappy, which I would imagine a real helicopter would. Sure, it's something to do with advancing or retreating blade stall or something like that. But you do just really have to be mindful of your airspeed as you're flying. As far as maneuverability goes, I can't speak onto a real 206 as I've never flown one, and I've never flown in one. This has enough to get you in and out of where you want to go. So let's say we want to touch down in this field up here. I can go ahead and dump some collective here. We'll come out to the right just a bit and start pitching the nose up, because we are very high and very fast. That's our radar altimeter letting us know we're below 500 feet AGL. Interesting craters on the ground here. Is this like a munitions training facility or something? Guys, see all those little craters? Or are those modeled hay bales? Not sure, but sort of down. That might have been a tail strike. Can't say for sure. We'll try a takeoff from the outside. I'm got low hopes, but we'll give it a shot here. Not great. Alright, onward to our destination. I will catch up back with you guys once we're a little bit closer. Alrighty, we're rolling up on our visitation spot for today, so let's go ahead and get a little bit more speed under the helo here and see if we can't get up close to that V&E so you can see what I'm talking about in terms of the helicopter getting kinda unhappy. Getting really high on the torque meter and slowly approaching that V&E mark. And the helicopter is just going to start wanting to pitch over from what I've seen. So now through V&E, we're actually in ground effect. Let's climb just a little. Whoa, just a little bit. There's Boca Chica Field. Well, we left Boca Chica Field, but this is the Starship launch facility SpaceX owns and operates. A little bit of outdated scenery. There's a little bit more going on here than what's modeled. Don't know if we're going to get that twitch in for the V&E after all. But we can see some cool rockets, or a cool rocket, I suppose. So, like SN15, I think, is what's modeled on the ground there. Let's aim to set down on this little crater over here. And then we will do a quick set down and then a takeoff again. I have no idea where the winds are coming from. I'm assuming we're getting a sea breeze since it's evening time in the sim right now in Texas. So we'll try to position into the wind based on that knowledge. Quick set down. Well, let's pick it back up. A little bit too much anti-torque on my part. And we'll see how it does with low speed handling. So we got a little bit of that in on our departure out of Boca Chica Field, but I want to see oh, winds are shifting on me. Winds are really shifting on me. Lots of left anti-torque. You can see the launch tower that's now actually constructed out at Boca Chica. Under construction here in the sim. The tank farm ahead of us. And some slightly uneven ground. I'm assuming this has all been nicely paved out by SpaceX, but hard to say for certain. Let's avoid those tanks. What's the rocket fuel that Starship uses? Is it not glycol? That's what they spray on wings. It starts with an H. I can't think of it. It's orange, super like toxic. Or does it use a what does the Raptor engine use? I'm drawing a blank here. Because I know they're throttleable, which is what made them cool. Oh look, there's wreckage of the one that crashed. Was that 12? Serial number 12? I don't know. My knowledge of SpaceX stuff is obviously lacking. There's Starhopper over there. Let's get one more takeoff in. Somewhat facing into the wind this time around. Got a nice close-up of serial number 15. Or SN15 for those of you aficionados. again, I do want to apologize again for the stutters. It's looking a lot smoother on video than it is on my screen, but it's still not excusable in my opinion. So anyway, that I think will do it. That is the Cowan Sim Bell 206 Jet Ranger L3. There is a B2, I believe, variant as well. It's an older variant with the classic twin exhaust exits. But we are in the L3 today. Relatively similar aircraft. This one's just a little bit newer, I believe. So, what do you guys think? Are rotorcraft even your thing? If they are, is this on your list to pick up? I think once they get a few other things ironed out, this will be a ready flyer for me. Handling-wise, I like it better than the 414, the default 414 that Asoba has baked into the sim. But I do think a little bit of smoothing over controls could be definitely in the future for this helicopter. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video, you guys. Thank you very much for watching. I will catch you in the next video, and as always, take it easy.